Okay, ladies and gentlemen, a very warm welcome to all of you guys. Good evening to all of you. I'm Bobby Lee from CFA Society Malaysia. I'm just one of the board of directors of CFA Society Malaysia. Today we're going to present you with a second part of our NFT topics, right? We're going to talk about navigating a futures filled by NFTs itself. Last week, we have some explanation in terms of legality, regulations, and also what are NFT actually, right? And today we're going to talk more about NFTs in terms from the digital art space, so on and so forth. Next slide, please. Well, just some housekeeping rules. We have these sessions, which is only 1 hour and 15 minutes, which will include Q&A sessions as well. Please make sure that your mic is actually on mute throughout the sessions. And this session will be recorded and it will be made available on CFA Institute ARX platform. A disclaimer here, which we need to address. Information in these presentations is only intended to provide a general view and for educational purposes. It should not be regarded as rendering professional advice or recommendations of making any investment decisions. So the speaker here speaks as an individual and not representing an organizations, and the organizations that they are associated with accept no responsibility for any loss arising from any action taken and or not taken by anyone using this material. Well, we have the agenda here today. Mainly, we're going to break these sessions into 2 parts. The first part of NFT is about creations. We are going to talk about minting processes and so forth. And the second session here, we're going to talk about trading and also investing in terms of NFT. So I hope the audience here will like it. Then we have a panel discussions and also a Q&A sessions later. All right. We have our pools ongoing, which is a pool and Q&A sessions. You can scan your QR code below here, and you can join our pooling sections and our Q&A sessions. The website is actually in the slides here, which is meet.ps/NFT part 2. What you can do is also click on the chat box and click on the link to join our pool sessions. Yeah? All right. You can follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, or any social media page as well. Just next slide, please. Okay, just some short introductions of myself. I'm Lee Cherry, Bobby. I'm one of the directors of CFA Society Malaysia, currently working in the banking industry. I would like to introduce to you guys to Jason and also Shane. Maybe you guys can introduce yourself as well. Jason.
Hello. Nice to meet everyone.
Nice to meet you. Well, Jason is the CEO of Imperial Universe, right? He is an NFT agency that assists artists, content creators, and corporates to get their then start in NFTs and also DeFi blockchains. Next, maybe we can have Sheng.
Hey, good evening, everyone. So my name is Sheng. I'm the solution architect and consultant partner for Syllabus Advisory. My role in Syllabus Advisory is mostly on system architecture and technology. I've been involved in crypto since 2016, and prior to Syllabus Advisory and my current role in a Singapore-based company, I worked in blockchain, did track and trace, any counterfeit using NFTs, digital twins, etc. So I'm very excited to be part of this presentation.
Yeah, cool. Well, on the side, we have our pool ongoing, right? Our first pool question is do you view NFT as an investment as a class or a fact that will pass? We have 50% of the voter now currently vote as an investment class, and 17% is just thinking that it's a fact. And 33% currently is actually not sure about it. Now, maybe after this session itself, this webinar itself, we can know more and understand more about NFT in regards of what we call a digital art space. Well, we can have Jason here who will share with us what is thought about the futures of NFT here. All right, Jason, back to you.
Hello. So welcome to my topic. It's basically navigating a future filled with NFTs, which I think is a very likely possibility given our current state that even in Malaysia is still a very infantile kind of space lah. Not too many people in it, despite it being a $1 billion industry already. So I will take you through. I think last week we had a session where NFTs were explained in quite detail lah, what they are, how is it formed, and how does it what are its use cases are. For my slide, I will just take you all through a more personal approach in terms of how I came to know about NFTs, came to also consult other creators about NFTs, and also where this space might lead us. So next slide, please. Okay, so this is a brief introduction. My introduction will be very short. I will focus more on creating NFTs by creators and what goes through a creator's process, internal process, they themselves, as well as also us providing them with technical and marketing support to get their works out there. We also touch on a bit of how it serves brands, especially because now our clientele has started to evolve to more and more reputable brands who are actually thinking how to use this tool to actually to be the tip of the spear for their marketing campaigns. Their concerns are more not so much on putting their artworks out, but also yes, it's still content creating focused, but it's more on using it as a very sharp and effective marketing tool given how hot NFTs are. And I just will end with a Q&A. So as you can tell, sorry, the previous slide just now, the most famous one is OpenSea. So yes, I will show a bit more on why OpenSea is such a big platform now, and also where else can you actually have a look at NFTs. So I actually own a SoPunk. Me and a few friends, we put funds together, and we were thinking like, oh, we missed out on CryptoPunks, we missed out on Bored Ape Yacht Club. The only thing I had from any resemblance to be a NFT OG guy is that I dabble a bit in CryptoKitties with one of my ex-colleagues, but it's since been sold off, not very lucratively. So this is a SoPunk. Why is it called a SoPunk? It's an NFT on the Solana blockchain. So basically, all of us are a bit more familiar with OpenSea, especially if you've been through last week's session. So a lot of NFTs now are minted on OpenSea, on the Ethereum blockchain. But Ethereum is because it's a slightly older legacy blockchain. The gas fees are very high. So we are all looking for alternatives to actually see edge out a bit more returns, because even dabbling in NFTs, part of it is for fun, but majority of it, to be quite honest, is still to make some ROI from it. So there's a lot of technical terms in terms of defining an NFT, but what I would define it as is a digital certificate of ownership using blockchain technology. The fact that blockchain is immutable, the fact that now you can use blockchain technology, like even previously we were discussing that there's a lot of use case for blockchain, even before the term NFT became in vogue. But blockchain is actually by the fact that it is immutable, you can actually use it to tag a lot of items. They used to, even earlier use cases in the crypto side, we had projects like Wabi that were using it to tag a supply chain for milk powder. Eventually, even big brands like BMW try to use it to tag some of their supply chain issues. Luxury goods were using blockchain technology to tag their luxury goods to authenticate. I even wrote an article a while back about how art works, authentication work by using blockchain. So there was a lot of use cases back then already, even like 3 years ago, on how to use actually this technology to actually enhance certain aspects of our daily lives. So it's basically a digital tagging. So when you ask us what are NFTs, are they pictures? Are they sound? Are they audio visual? Are they videos? What is it? So actually no, the back end of it is actually a tagging solution to tag any digital media. So if you understand that, you will understand that actually you can use it for various whole slew of applications. Of course, because of how, in general, playful the online world is, they have been using it to tag very, not to say lame, very random stuff. One of them was CryptoPunks, pixelated art that actually languished for a year plus where no one bothered much about it. The original creators, some of it also, I don't want to have a look at it. And then suddenly it blew up. Now they all cost in the millions, $500,000 and all that kind of thing. So mine cost me around 20 SOL, which was USD $4,000. And I will preface now that is in no way affiliated with Lava Labs and CryptoPunks, because there are so many punks. There's like the Matic chain has the Matic punks, there's Polypunks, Even Pentas, our local platform, has Pentas Punks MY. You will see it on the Federal Highway, that big billboard there. So yes, mine is not in any way affiliated. And the reason why is I have this. Some are saying, some of my friends that were pulling to try and buy this, maybe we are trying to compensate. We don't have that. So we look for the next one. We even in SoPunk, even in the Solana chain itself, there was a monkey ape-based NFTs called Degen Apes. We also ape into that. So we're actually just following the herd. Okay, so because as you can tell, the cheapest one, the last time I did a bit of digging a while ago, the cheapest SoPunk is already almost 300 USD on OpenSea. So technically, that was the legacy one. That is the one that actually made a name in terms of spearheading this whole thing, this whole NFT craze, along with a few other projects. So basically, any digital file can be an NFT. Sorry, next slide, please. So yes, our dear friend Tony here, other than Shai Siddiq, also tried the NFT himself. He was gifted by an anonymous buyer, one of Jay Chow's NFT. Jay Chow will also say that he's not affiliated directly. It's a EZ.io collaboration for his this Fanta Bear is actually part of his fantasy streetwear line. Because a lot of streetwear people are also getting into NFTs. The mentality of streetwear and flipping and reselling is there. So as you can tell, they are not cheap. This was gifted to him at 14K. What he has since done with it, I think is still in his wallet. So next slide, please. So these are certain things you see. And I think you probably saw this guy. He took very low quality pixelated pictures of himself. Ghazali, he has since become a meme and he has sold more than $1 million in NFTs. I think Ghazali's mom is also somewhere involved now. There's a Ghazali mom NFT. So you can tell that in the NFT world or in this space, you cannot be neutral, you cannot be normal. You have to straddle both spectrums of it. Either you're something you create is amazing, fantastic artwork, collectible, very unique, or you have to straddle the other extreme where you are extremely quirky and extremely, sorry, Ghazali, weird to extreme. Either way, you need to catch your attention. So you can tell based on these two extremes, Fanta Bear, which is a collectible art, quite simply drawn, but because it has big name resonance with it, yes, it sells. CryptoPunks, because a lot of big name collectors, or even Visa card, or even very big celebrities, like our own Henry Golding also has a CryptoPunk. So with that resonance, they sell. The prices inflate, along with other factors, of course. So then you have this extreme where this young chap is taking very low res webcam photos, even blurrer than my webcam now, and actually just minting. But he's very cheeky about it. So sometimes it's about, he might have stumbled and become an NFT sensation, but it goes to show that it's not just your pictures. Your pictures might look a bit weird, a bit quirky, like he's staring at me. Sometimes at night also I scared, all that kind of thing. But it goes along with his copy, because his copy is also very strict. It's also very funny. It's also very humorous. He said that don't abuse my pictures, my parents will be upset. So sometimes if you don't take yourself so seriously in this space, you might catch on a bit of fans. So now he has become a PFP. So he is a profile picture in itself. A lot of NFTs are collected as profile pictures so that people can flex, they can show off on their Twitter, like Stephen Curry, NBA basketball player. He will have one of the Bored Apes as his Twitter handle, Jay-Z as a CryptoPunk, and a whole slew of other celebs that do that. So now he himself has become a PFP. Some cheeky fellows will actually put his picture as their Twitter profile picture. So it's very hard to tell what will go viral and what will not go on, but it really depends on how you also angle what you want to create. He probably never expected that this would happen to him. So as you can tell, anything can be NFT, and anything depends what is your motive of creating the NFT. Next slide, please. So is this just a fantasy? Because I do pinch myself now and then. I'm thinking, especially with the movie like The Matrix coming back, and a lot of very meta kind of shows coming about. You tend to ask yourself, am I really trapped in somewhere they are experimenting on my brain that this is actually possible? That people are buying expensive monkey pictures, or even buying land like Sandbox, buying land in the metaverse. They actually each pixel, and pixel costs hundreds of thousands, the bigger plots. But as you can see, for Sandbox, big companies are already buying up the land there. You have South China Morning Post, you have Binance, the crypto exchange, you have the Care Bears buying there, I even see a Malaysia flag there. I do not know who bought it, but more and more people are entering. Atari also has big plots of land there. So it is not, it might be strange if we are just, if I was in a coma for 7 years and just woke up, I think I would not be able to accept this reality. But because we would ease into it, we actually say that, okay, it's weird. You either go along or you just don't bother, you just switch off, you shut up from this. But you can see that if there is an incentive to actually make a bit of money, to actually create a bit of engagement, sometimes it's not about just making money, engagement. NFTs is a very sharp tool, like Namewee, our very own Namewee, a bit prone to controversy. But you see, he also did his, he also chopped up his songs and actually NFT them and also sold millions. Then we have our own Red Hong Yi. She has a few famous NFTs already out. This one a bit printing banana money, play on our own ringgit. When Lambo, the apes are there again. So yes, apes is a big thing in the NFT world. So, but you can tell all of these, the floor prices are ridiculous one. None of them are below 100K. And they are still going strong. Okay, like namely maybe his subsequent release, the prices are going down a bit and everything. But in general, more and more projects are coming in, more and more, not to say innovation, more creativity is streaming in. And actually, for one stage, as we approach our 40s, I'm thinking, I must be a bit more cultured. I must start looking at artwork. And then suddenly this whole NFT scene boom, where I saw not only artworks, but the other extreme of what constitutes art and creativity. So it's really because you can you can be shielded and be actually just let your brain manifest whatever it wants. You actually see a lot of different inputs in terms of what actually goes through people's brains. So I always see this in a fishbowl, that this is actually what people's brains want to put out, but they didn't do because previously there's a lot of structural kind of constraints. Or your art must be a certain way before it goes into an art gallery, or you cannot be too much this way. You cannot, a lot of rules are written for it. And NFTs actually just what do you call that? Slash and burn all the rules already. You can actually mint anything as long as only one rule fit within 30 megabytes or 50 megabytes. That's the only rule. Anything else, you want to put sounds, there's even fart sounds. Someone tried to sell fart sounds. There's a joke I always keep telling, and he managed to sell it. So yes, so anything is possible, and the prices makes it even more absurd that why is this happening? So yes, if you were in a coma 7 years ago, I think go back to sleep for at least another few years and see what happens. Next slide, please. So yes, this actually, when I was doing this slide, I was also talking to one boutique owner of quite a big sneaker brand in Malaysia. The brand was actually brought in from Japan. So I used to collect a bit of sneakers back in the days. So they were telling me, hey, a lot of the sneaker collectors are now migrating to become NFT collectors. I said, yeah, why? Actually, you also, you were telling me, I said, I'm in crypto for a few years, but no, you also collected sneakers. So say, yes, after a while, I give it a bit of think. They say, yes, it's true, because the flipping mentality is the same. Buying something, trying to resell it, trying to own it and flex. The sneaker scene is also about buying, same as watches, same as Rolex, and buying expensive Rolex and Patek Nautilus and all that kind of thing. You want to wear it to flex. At the same time, you want to resell it to not only ROI, but it show that you made a lot of money, a very astute investment decision. Despite all this being very frivolous consumerism kind of goods and services. So as I was thinking, it was correct. The flipper mentality comes from that. Previously, they had to camp out, especially in the US when it's cold, or even other countries. And then in KLCC, there was an Adidas human race Pharrell launched that they got into fights. It even went viral on Facebook a while. There's a punch up just because of a pair of sneakers. Now all they have to do is just bring their sneaker bots into the crypto world and actually try and see. They just had to collect JPEGs. The shoes will not break down on them. You have Rolex watches getting stolen, your hand chopped off, all that kind of thing. NFTs, the only thing you have to worry about is probably your wallet get hacked and stolen. Your NFTs are stolen along with your crypto funds. But the mindset is there, the collector mindset. So it applies not just for sneaker watches, it applies to any collector mindset. And that's why one of the reasons why NFTs are such popular. It simplifies the collector mindset. I just own a picture. It's an indication of my how affluent I am, or what clique I want to be affiliated with. And then after that, I can still dispose of it and maybe even make more than what I initially put in. So that is, I think that is what got sparked the flames that eventually burned the whole forest. Next slide, please. So yes, this is just to say that yes, it's a movie already. I'm watching a movie unfold. So we have Bitcoin Malaysia is one of our partners. Imperium is us, and also yes, just an artwork to represent that. Is this real life, or we're watching something playing out, a movie playing out right in front of our eyes? Which is quite true, because from what I see is whether it's artwork, whether it's videos, whether it's collectibles. If you look at it that way, I used to collect like basketball cards or even trading cards, or people collect those Pokemon cards. They will say that your NFTs is not tangible. I can hold all these trading cards, but they will ask. Then I'll flip the thing and tell them, aren't your trading cards a piece of cardboard anyway? Your cardboard is also, if you strip away all the veneer of what it's worth, it's also a piece of cardboard only. The same with a Rolex owner. I would say that if you strip all your parts and melt it down to metal and gold, you probably can sell only for like, I don't know, a few $100s only. But the intangible value, so the whole thing about not just NFTs, but crypto also is how much value you confer to something. If enough people are willing to confer value to this item, actually, if you look at it, cryptocurrencies might be fungible. They are all homogeneous, right? But you are conferring value on something that is homogeneous. It's the same for NFTs. You're conferring value on actually something that more effort went into creating it. A smart contract for a token. Me and Sheng can probably bang our heads together today and issue a cryptocurrency already, just that no one will probably want to own it. But an NFT, the artist actually goes through a lot of hard work, or even creators, any creator, animator, or graphic designer, they went through a lot of hard work to actually conceptualize it. So I would say that people actually put more effort into crafting NFTs than actually launching a token. But what are the values, or what are the monetary definitions that you confer on them? That's a completely different story. So, okay, next slide, please. Sorry. So why NFTs? Let me try to speed through this. So actually, yes, NFTs is because there's a big market gap. There's the fact that now we used to be very insular, or all these crypto traders. Yeah, they must be, must be tech people, must be nerds, must be, just swindlers or something like that. Now there's a big market gap where it's encroaching on creativity. So creativity, everyone can be creative. So there's a big market gap there. Our creativity are sometimes stymied by being sitting by who we are. So there's a big market gap there where you can create anything. It actually unleashes a whole different thing of where people can actually parlay all this, put all these things into different ecosystems, and the community builds itself. So our affiliation, by just saying that I like, let's say, Bored Ape Yacht Club, then I suddenly, there's a whole gang of us already. And what ties us all together? This picture of a monkey, which is even easier to create. That means if you want to, as a brand or as a creator, I want so much people to gather around my artwork or what I create. I have to take so much effort. I have to hire a PR firm, a marketing firm, or this firm, or I have to get myself interviewed by this publication. Now it's just that if you just do enough, a simple JPEG unifies everybody. And the cost of it, close to nothing. The minting fees, people will say are very expensive on Ethereum. But imagine, I was talking to Sheng that day, McDonald's, you fabricate a Happy Meal toy. It manufactures in China or Vietnam now, and then it comes here, and they all look alike. That probably costs more than to actually mint an NFT and gift it to everybody. And not only that, people probably desire, if it's based on what the recent Tiger Beer times PCM, Pestle and Mortar launch, people actually desire the NFT more than they probably desire the bottle of Tiger Beer, which is very strange. So because it's hot, it's something that is like, it's something that I can't understand, but I must own it to show that I semi-understand what it encompasses. And I think that's where the gears are rolling for it. So for brands, retail customers always enjoy collecting. So 90% of the NFT transactions are actually collectibles and digital art. People who create fine arts, people want to collect them. Those 1,000 apes or 1,000 punks, 10,000 punks or 10,000 apes, people like to collect them. So that's where the collector mindset comes in. And then after that, it expands into an interactive universe, where you can, a lot of them are still drawing up their own roadmaps, how they're going to do this how they're going to fully turn this into a full-fledged universe. Also, then you'll ask, are NFTs usable? Yes, because NFTs represent something you have value over. So if the NFT eventually gives you certain rights, that will be a game changer, whether you can access to this hit club, or you can go to this premiere of this movie, or you can go to meet this celebrity, or this gives you access to certain status. So, and the longevity is that it doesn't break down as long as blockchain, all the blockchains are sustainable. We don't know with quantum computing and everything. As long as you have blockchain and it's immutable, to keep this NFT is much more easier than to store other tangible goods. Sorry, next slide, please. Sorry, I see someone asking question. Okay, so there's so many marketplaces. The most common, of course, will be OpenSea on our upper left, Binance NFT, our two local ones that are springing up. I'll give a shout out to NFT Pangolin and also Pentas. Even our local marketplace like Pentas is doing exceedingly well, and a lot of collectibles are there. A lot of very awesome artwork are being done there. So this is a whole spectrum of all the different marketplaces. Some I might left out because more and more spring up every day. Next slide, please. And I think the one that actually inculcated in even the mainstream audience is actually people's one. People who created a single artwork for the last, 13 or 14 years. It all culminated in him selling everyday, which is all his artwork in a collage for 69.3 million at Christie's. So even a super legit auction house already start to recognize NFTs are in itself also artwork and also auctionable products, luxury goods. Next slide, please. So this is just a bit of how we actually assist our artists and also our corporate clients to do NFTs. Sorry, next slide, please. So how do we help our clients? So we are not saying, we do not come to them and tell them that we know everything, we can sell your NFTs for how much and how much. We normally just want to get them into the scene. Actually, just after that, to hand off to them already. So what we actually handle is based on our own experience in this scene, which is still relatively short, because I think the NFT whole hype around NFT marketing and flipping only came about last year. So we are also quite young in this space, but we at least have some experience in terms of seeing how it's done. So we actually just handle some marketing for this, help them drive some awareness, and also some ideation for them, because they maybe just feeling, how should I do this? How should I put this on? What should I do as an artist or even a brand? So we actually just help them coordinate all this based on the resources we have and also some of our contacts. So we of course tell them which are the best blockchain to mint on, which platform. And in some cases, we will handle the minting for you and also collecting the proceeds. Because the thing that I think last week they highlighted was you can actually bake in royalties into your NFT. And that is a game changer, because now you do not need lawyers or accountants or or your account managers to make sure you get all the proceeds from everything you sold. If you are entitled to a royalty, the smart contract automatically disperses it to the creator wallet. And I think that's a big thing to, that's a big game changer. Okay. And next slide, please. So this is actually our streamwork of how we do things. We think of the ideas for them. We think of the content to help them market it. And the most important thing is a unique community. So now Discord is where a lot of communities are lying around in, and how they actually gather all their people and gather support, because you need not just the community to buy your NFTs and get them the prices going up. You also need them to be there to help you shout out and help you promote, and also help you basically emphasize what are the positive points about your NFTs, whatever you're creating. Next slide, please. So in summary, actually the sky is the limit in terms of what you can create. It's just a new medium of expression. We are just viewing artwork and creations in a different format only, from your phone screen, from your TV screen. Just like how you can go to art gallery, you're seeing things in person, right? You likely also cannot touch the artwork. You cannot go and you put your grubby finger and fingerprints all over artwork. So it's the same. The medium might have changed, but it's still your own eyeball taking in the stimulus to actually whether to appreciate this is good or it's crap, or this is creative, this is unique, or this is too weird for me, that kind of thing. So it's a game changer. And especially now, because more traditional artists, it not only forces them to list it in a different platform. Like I'm doing some creation I've been painting this way for 20 years. Now I must put my artwork on the screen, mint it. No, it also forces them to evolve. What else can I do with I've been painting this way. Let's say I only paint apples. I'm famous for painting apples. I sell apple pictures for millions. Why should I evolve? Now, because if you have more feedback from, let's say, an NFT space where people are shooting lasers from their eyes and all that kind of thing, you evolve as an artist. You see how you can cater your work for a completely new audience already. I think even previous materials that you have, previously you might be very well known only in the region or in Malaysia. Now you suddenly have a new audience who can appreciate what you do. Sorry, next slide, please. So closer to home, NFT creators are everywhere. I know we are a bit strapped on time. So as you can tell, our Federal Highway, there's Punks NY. We have Cartoon here also selling the millions. One of our artists we manage, Win Pang, her work is also exceedingly good. The two top collectibles from Pentas is also here, Rich Cat and Confederacy. They even brought in Ultimate to do a collab. Next slide, please. And in Malaysia, surprisingly, not surprisingly, I won't say not surprisingly, kudos to the two ladies who actually among those who have done very well for themselves in the NFT space. Among them was Red Hong Yi and also Vicintra. Sorry if I butcher your name. So she has been doing her work for at least 4 months before anyone took notice. And then suddenly Reese Witherspoon snapped in, Snoop Dogg came in, and then all our artworks were starting to move already for very good prices. So it's good to see that given that it was such a heavily crypto and NFTs are such a male-dominated scene, our top 2 NFT creators are actually ladies. Sorry, next slide, please. So the minting process. So yes, you can choose Ethereum versus a few. That means you got Solana, you got Matic, you got so many chains BSC to mint on. Ethereum is the most expensive, but with lazy minting coming in, it's very cheap now. So any creators, I think, is almost leveling the playing field already. So whether it's a marketplace, you're going to somewhere like OpenSea or Pentas, or even NFT Pangolin locally, or any of the other minting sites, or you're doing your own custom smart contract. That means you hire a developer to actually create a custom mint site for you. So you can map out your roadmap there and everything. And then after that, we also tell them what are your rights to assets. That means you actually have to provide description in your NFTs that you're selling. What rights are you conferring to the assets? Are there any unlockable content? Are there physical things that you're gifting away? Are you letting people build on your artwork? That means they can draw on it, they can make derivatives from it, and you will not impose any kind of penalty for them doing that. So, and then after that, you also have to know your fan base and also plan out your roadmap. I think that is more, if you are focused on not just making a quick buck, a lot of them are like bananas. They write very fast and they turn black. You need a proper roadmap to actually ensure you got longevity. Sorry, next slide, please. So Malaysians as NFT creators, so you have to support the scene in Malaysia is quite good in the sense that we are quite mutually supportive. The early adopters, the pioneers, are supporting new artists coming in. They'll tell them, no worries, I will tweet your work for you. I will probably give you a shout out when you need to. So, and then what we do next is actually, other than getting them as NFT creators first in the scene and actually interacting with the community, we just help them decide what's the best place for your work. And then after that, we just give them the full marketing and PR push for where they need to go, their final products need to go. Next slide. So basically, it's how you evolve and collaborate. As you can see, there's a little banana there. I actually, this was one of the first few artworks I bought from Pentas. It's very creative. It's actually our Tunku Abdul Rahman. He's doing his iconic pose during our Merdeka. And the artist, Afiq, has done a lot of work to actually, it's a bit derivative. He creates a lot of forms which Tunku Abdul Rahman inhabits. In this case, he's in a banana suit and shooting lasers out of his eyes. But as you can see, it forces, he is a new artist, so he found a new way to take a very archival kind of material and give it its own spin. So platform-wise, you choose your own platform. community is very important. You have to fire up all your social media accounts. You must be in the trenches talking to your community, talking to other artists. And I think the Malaysian scene is very kind to each other. We are quite mutually supportive. There's not a lot of blaming and all that kind of thing. So the work itself should stay true to yourself. You shouldn't be stray too much from what you are trying to do. You shouldn't say that I want to do the thing that makes me the most money the fastest. Stay true to yourself. Normally that works the best. And royalties are the game changer that we mentioned just now. Because it's in-bake royalties, you actually cut out a lot of the middlemen to actually get proceeds from when your NFTs are resold. Because NFTs tend to snowball. They might sell for very low prices at the start, but they snowball and compound, and each resell, they can reach higher and higher sums. Okay. And the derivatives is, yes, what we mentioned. Will you be giving your owners to they themselves create on it? Some people like Sean Yu has some CryptoPunks. He's starting to print t-shirts with the CryptoPunks he owns. And then he has a not for sale there. So he's not selling them, but he is creating a derivative artwork from it already. Next slide. So as a marketing tool, it's very effective. You can use, at first we say that it's used to tag products, is to authenticate products. But now it's evolved more than that. It can be used as a promotional giveaway and everything. So there's a lot of loyalty marketing features there. And this can be tapping into the same collector mindset. And not only that, by using this as a marketing tool, you're actually reaching a new crowd. We have a lot of retail, we have a lot of brands talk to us. Yeah, I need new buyers. I need new blood coming in to buy my goods, whether it's luxury or even mass products. And this is actually a very effective way to market to crypto affluence, because a lot of newcomers have got, a lot of new consumers have gotten very rich as a result of investing in cryptocurrencies. So this is a way to actually market to them, to actually give them something that they previously, sometimes some crypto affluent, they walk into a very luxury store, but they're not used to being in such a setting. And then the store owner, the store boutique attendant sometimes look them up and down, sure or not, you can buy this or not. This actually takes away some of the membrane from it to actually say that, okay, if you have this, come to our store. So it's a more easy way to lubricate the process to actually even the retail sector. Next slide, please. So this is how brands can benefit. Firstly, it's database marketing. That means you don't take NFTs as I must sell the NFT to make money from my NFT. You still sell your traditional wares, whether you're a clothing label, whether you sell cars, whether you sell watches, whether you sell anything like a service. You're marketing NFTs, using NFTs to market to your database, to let them know that, hey, this is something new. Come and visit us because this is new. Or to market to crypto people who traditionally might not be so familiar with what you are selling. And the marketplace is, you can even create your own self-contained marketplace. If you have enough products in your stable, you can actually create your own marketplace and sell your NFTs within there. You can also create NFT utility, which is like bonus points. So previously, you might be issuing your own bonus points. Now you can actually use NFTs to show entitlement to certain perks within your ecosystem. And yes, you can create media around that. And eventually, I think with the metaverse coming in, all these contents could be bridged to the metaverse already. Even if your thing is a 2D NFT, very static, if your thing, same, as long as it confers certain value, people recognize that value. Eventually, a metaverse comes in. There's a lot of creator tools where you just can do a swap. You give me your static thing, we will give you your polygonal avatar in this metaverse. Next slide, please. So yes, it's about loyalty marketing, it's about collector mindset, and also, yes, experiences. If your NFT gives a lot of rights to a lot of people for experiences, I think that will also do well in the long run. Next slide, please. So yes, ownership. Here, the main thing is actually for creators, just to take note from previous week's one, is just to say that you must be careful what you do. Sometimes even fan art will land you in trouble, or not only land the creator in trouble, sometimes you will land the buyer in trouble. So that's just to be aware in terms of what you create and also what you buy. Next slide, please. That's for me. For taking out a bit of time, Shang, over to you.
All right, thank you, Jason. Thank you very much for your input. I like the idea of, like you mentioned, in terms of like the platforms help the community, the artist community itself to actually grow their creativities and to push themselves to another level. I think that part is quite interesting, and the part whereby you mentioned that maybe it will evolve into the metaverse in the future. Maybe that's something that we there's a possibility that we might want to look into it in futures as well, right? That is very interesting. Now, without further ado, without wasting any further time, let us have Sheng here, which he will share with us in regards of the investing and also the key things to know in terms of like trading or investing itself. Sheng, to you.
All right, thank you, Bobby. Jason, thanks a lot for the presentation. Every time I hear you present, it reminds me of the Renaissance art. For those of you who want some bedtime reading, you can study the history of art moving from the medieval time to the Renaissance time and how it changes because of the introduction of science. So it reminds me of the various expressions of artists during that time, right? Obviously, in the Renaissance, you have a lot more polymath people that are able to not only do artwork, but also do math and a lot more. Probably those two are the same. So I'll let you figure that out and do some research on it tonight. So moving on from there, I noticed that one of the participants, Wong Ying Chi, actually asked a question. So you could just put it in the chat, or then later we'll attend to it. So I haven't forgotten about you. And before I begin, also I realized my internet is a little bit unstable. So if I do freeze in the meanwhile, just be patient. I'll be back. Okay, great. So I see that I only have some time left. So I am standing between you and dinner. So I either have to be fast or interesting in my presentation. And I'm going to jump straight into something probably you're more familiar with, given that you're from the CFA background. So next slide, please. So first thing is my talk, I'm going to share with you on the guide to investing in NFT. And here are some caveats, right, or how this data will come to light. So first of all, this is the NFT market data for 2021, the entire year of 2021. In a total, about 23,000 users, or 23,000 accounts, if you will. Most of it is only on the secondary market. We're not talking about the primary market, all right? Probably if we have more time later on, I explain what's different between primary and secondary market. So, and then the people flipped it more than 10 times, right? And then each account purchased more than 10 times. So these are the qualifying criteria for this research. And also it's limited to OpenSea only. As Jason alluded to, there are a lot of various marketplaces. However, we're focusing on OpenSea, specifically for Ethereum, okay? And this data we split into 5 quintiles, right? The first quintile being the most top performing, and then the last one being the least successful in trading NFTs. Next slide. All right. So the first thing is you will notice that the group 1, or the most successful group, normally flips around like 105 NFTs, right, within the average number. Mind you, these are average numbers. So there's a lot of disproportionality, which I'll explain later. And group 5 flips slightly higher than group 4, as you can see. So basically, there's a direct correlation between how many times you flip versus how successful you are. However, it stops at group 5, probably because group 5, they're not so good at certain things, right? Or maybe exercising better judgment. Next slide. And then the purchase price. So as you can see here again, group 1 is willing to pay most, yet they're most successful. Okay, and there's a direct correlation again up until group 5. So even the group 5 pays the second highest for NFT in terms of purchase price, it just demonstrates that sometimes with sufficient practice, it also requires a bit of good judgment for you to actually pick or flip the right NFTs. And probably group 5 are the people that they're not very good at that. All right, next slide, please. And here is to show you some discrepancy in terms of the prices that the top 5 is willing to pay versus the bottom 95 that is willing to pay. So the top 5 is willing to pay more than 3 times the price of the bottom 95. So just now as I mentioned, there was an average price, right? So just now if you look at average price, you look at the various 5 groups, you will see that group 1 pays more. But if you look at the top 5, they pay significantly more. And I will review why that is the case later on. So let's move on to the next slide. And as you can see, in addition to willing to pay more, practicing more, or having more experience flipping, the best performing group also purchased from a large number of collections and not only 1 or 2 collections. All right. So this also shows that maybe the group 1 also has a lot of funding in this case because they can purchase at a higher price and they can purchase at a larger subset of collection. However, diversifying doesn't necessarily mean diversifying too much doesn't necessarily mean that you will get a lot of returns. Why? Next slide, please. You will notice that the top 50% of all flips comes from 95% of the top collections. And almost 95% of all the NFT flips come from 500, the top 500 collection. So if you were to purchase or flip any NFTs in OpenSea, in Ethereum, you might want to take note of these stats if you want to diversify. So then you can actually budget yourself accordingly. Okay, next slide, please. Oh, before that, the previous slide shows that there are, of 2021, there's about 2,000 collection, 2,000 sets of NFTs, right, that they were tracking. All right, so let's come back to this slide here. So as you can see, how many, group one compared, group one, group two, group three, group four, group five, we can see from this slide here, how many of their flips, right, on average results in profit. It's quite good because between group one to group four, they result in profit 60% of the time. This means that they are much better than coin flipping. And if you could do that in stock market taking, probably you'll do very well in the market. However, so does this mean that everyone can make money, right? Not exactly. I'll share with you why that's the case. Next slide, please. One of the reasons why that is the case is because the research, they keep track of successful transactions. They don't keep track of transactions that didn't occur. So what this means is that between group one and group four, as for the previous slides, it could mean just that people are not willing to sell or flip their NFT if they're not making money. It's like a paper loss or an unrealized loss. That's why you see like, oh, they're becoming very successful. Maybe there are a lot more cases where people are not making money, but they're not flipping, so you don't see it in the charts, right? So if you hear a lot of people like, wow, they purchase an NFT for barely a couple of $100 and then sold for hundreds of thousands, you're listening to the success cases. Probably a lot of people who are actually not successfully flipping, they're not sharing their losing streak, right? So just be very mindful of that. Now, in this slide here, you will see that the top performing one, although their success rate is not much different from the other two, second, third, and fourth group, but the return on investment or the return on investment multiple is much higher. And this will make a huge a change in the stats later I'm going to show you. Okay, so let's move on to the next slide. Oh, right. So this, what it essentially means from this is, does this mean that for you to be good at NFT flipping, you just need to meet all 5 of these criteria, right? You need to have large amount of funding so that you can buy diversified more and really pay premium for good ones. We practice a little bit more as well. And then, with a bit of exercise, you're very good at judging which NFTs will be successful or not. And at the same time, holding NFTs, even if you're making a loss, just don't sell, then you can actually sell it. And also diversify for more than up to 500. So does this mean that that's all it takes to become successful? Not exactly. I'm going to show you another set of data as to why this is not the case. So let's move on to the next slide. So this is just a comparison between the NFT trading volume in year 2020 to year 2021. So if you do the math, right, it's from close to 100 million to 20 billion in transaction volume. That is roughly about 200x in market growth within a year alone. Right, and depending on which report that you're getting from, some of them even put the transaction amount at 40 billion, right? It's a transaction volume at 40 billion, the total volume. So, and this is just Ethereum only. There are also a lot of other blockchains out there that probably isn't shown in this stat. So, there are a few reasons why suddenly from 2020 to 2021, there's a huge spike in the NFT trading volume. The next slide will show you what it is. Let's move on. So there are 3 main reasons, or at least I categorize in 3 main reasons. First thing is the massive cryptocurrency market cap, all right? So around roughly the same time between May of 2020 to April of 2021, you see that the price of Bitcoin and Ethereum rise massively, roughly 10x, 6x to 20x. So it goes in line that after that time, the crypto native participants, with that much amount of money, they're flushed with money, and then they wanted to buy, they want to find ways to spend their money, or as what Jason would say, flex, right? Buy a Rolex watch, buy an expensive car, buy a Lamborghini. That's why one of the most expensive artwork that was sold for $69 million, People's 5,000 Days, was sold roughly around March. If you look at the timing, it's quite coincidental of why that's happening, right? So crypto market went up, and at the same time, during that time, the NFT market also went up. Second reason is because of the tools. what happens here is you can go to OpenSea right now or any of the marketplaces, NFT marketplaces, and you could, without coding, you just upload your images and you can launch your own NFT. Okay. Before, I think before 2018, it was quite difficult. You need to know how to code and write your own smart contract to actually mint the NFT. And even then, like, you know, the CryptoPunk that we know now, they were minted, the creators of the CryptoPunks, they actually had to write the code to actually mint the NFT. And because even the ERC 721 standard, that's actually the coding standard that makes coding standard that makes the NFT immutable on the blockchain, right? It will only came out after the CryptoPunks were minted. So just so you know. So this means that the ability for artists to easily, without coding, to easily create their own artwork, right? Using the marketplaces actually fueled the creation of all these diverse expressions in art form. But most importantly, again, like what Jason mentioned, the royalty fees. If you've purchased any artwork from artists, right? I remember there was one very famous, I think it's Van Gogh. He famously sold his artwork for about for basically it's priceless, right? And even then, his descendants, if he has any descendants, doesn't even make money from the raw component, because even if the second hand, third hand, fourth hand, and subsequent hands that purchase the artist's artwork, they can make the royalty fee. That is a game changer, because in my previous work, I've worked with artists as well, trying to launch the artists using NFTs. I realized that's actually a struggle. And then the last but not least, of course, is the meme culture. So at the beginning of the presentation, my presentation, I did talk a little bit about, you know, Renaissance as well as the medieval era. It was more of an expression of the European people, because they came in contact with some of the lost mathematics and maybe the lost knowledge, and then they start expressing themselves. Similarly, with internet being, you know, with the usage of internet for the past close to 20, 30 years, there's a lot of new ways of people actually viewing the world, different perspectives. You can look in terms of social politics and economic movements. That's why there's a lot of all this meme culture. Meme stands for mimetic. Meme is actually a unit of culture. You can go look it up. I think that's the origin of the word in Latin. So just very quickly to touch on Bored Ape Yacht Club. The creators of Bored Yacht, when they first created this ape thing, so why is there like so many apes, right? You're wondering. Because back in early 2021, I don't know whether you remember, there was this Wall Street Bets movement, right? When in this community called Reddit, there's a group of people that say, hey, you know, we don't really like the hedge funds or whatnot, so let's all come together and everybody spend like how much dollars to actually pick one of the stocks, and then we just go against the hedge funds that actually short the stocks, right? And then the terminology that they use is called we ape inside it strong. Basically, it's actually from the movie Planet of the Apes. If you watch the movie, you'll see that particular section. Basically, it means if we come together and we purchase, right, we're very strong. So that's where the origins of that meme or the ape came from. But the most important thing about this is the Bored Ape Yacht Club is, why is it bored, right? It's because, you know, once you ape into it, you become so rich, right? I think one of the person in Wall Street Bets actually became a millionaire overnight from aping into a trade together. And then also, you know, you just join a yacht club once you're rich. What else do you do, right? So that's the origins of Bored Ape Yacht Club. Okay, next slide, please. So, of course, other than that, there is also the COVID thing going on. Sorry, I wouldn't call it COVID thing, is an understatement. So there's COVID, and obviously everybody's stuck at home. Everybody wants to find avenues of things to do. And there were, of course, a lot of stimulus. At the same time, if you look at this, is actually a Google Trend chart. At close to the end of the year, you will see that Bitcoin in the Google Trend chart score actually went down, right? So around May, it went up to 100. 100 is a higher score if you look at Google Trend chart. So that was roughly in line with when the price of crypto last year was at its peak. Right? Then after that, it dropped. Even though it went back up in around like November last year or October, you see that it went up. But the interest, the Google search interest, was very low for Bitcoin. Compared to NFT, it was just going up all the way to 100. And if you look at even the data this year, it was still roughly around 70%. Out of 0 to 100 score, it was still roughly around 70%. So the interest in NFT is there. And maybe at the end of the presentation, if I have some time, I'll explain possibly why this is the case. Why is that people not only searching for NFTs, but also continuously have an interest in NFT? So all this culminates in the rise in the NFT market from 100 million to 20 billion or 40 billion. And it's very hard pressed to not believe that if you are one of the early guys who purchase the NFT just because you like it, it's hard pressed not to believe that you could easily make money quite randomly or quite lucky in this sense. Let's move on to the next slide. All right. So there may be questions about wash trading. So what happened? What is you might heard of news like hey, NFT market is all a scam because people are doing wash trading. So here are some stats for you. Again, I remind you this is in OpenSea and in Ethereum. So according to the data available, out of the 23,000 addresses that was being tracked, right, only about 262 is considered actively doing wash trading. So what we mean by wash trading here is that when the accounts create another accounts to fund itself for the purchases of NFT, right? And then they purchase it at a higher price. So that's how we consider wash trading in the NFT industry. And also, at least in this case, in this research, it was very strict, right? It says once you do it 25 times, you only consider it as wash trading. So if you look at the data, it seems like, hey, that's not much, 200 addresses out of 23,000, that's very little wash trading. Mind you, if you look at the chart as well, you can see that the top addresses did wash trading roughly close to 1,000 times, right? Versus the 25th is about 100 times. So not only these 262 addresses does wash trading, but they also, quite serial in it, right? 100 times to 1,000 times. Okay, so this data is not very useful. So let's look at another data that might give you some insights. Next slide, please. So there is another competitor to OpenSea called LooksRare. It's also, again, an NFT marketplace on Ethereum where you could purchase, right? Purchase NFT. When LooksRare launched early in January this year, you can see according to this chart, their trading volume is 2x higher than OpenSea. Well, this means LooksRare is more successful than OpenSea, right? Not exactly. I'm sure you already know what's going on. Next slide. You will see that the blue one is actually OpenSea data, right? And the green one at the bottom is LooksRare, right? So even though the volume is high, in terms of the daily average users, LooksRare is 20 to 40 times less daily active user compared to OpenSea. So what this means? This means there's very few accounts trading a lot, okay? This, as a lot of the industry people or industry analysts speculate, is that this is actually a lot of wash trading. And if you do a bit of research in it, you can see a lot of this going on. So why is wash trading in LooksRare more than in OpenSea? Because LooksRare, for them to differentiate themselves with their competitor OpenSea, they also incentivize people who are trading. So if you were to buy and sell NFT on OpenSea, you will also get some tokens called Looks, which you can sell off at the market, or you could stake it and even earn more tokens. So there's an incentive element that makes the users want to actually just do a lot more wash trading. Okay, so it's still relatively inconclusive to the extent of wash trading due to the definition as well as the ability, the tools we have to actually do research on wash trading. All right, so that's wash trading. What about the next item, which you might be thinking at all? By the way, is wash trading profitable? Yes and no, 50-50, because some of the wash traders don't make money, but net overall, some of them who are very intelligent in wash trading, they're able to actually profit from it. So there are only a couple of million dollars according to this data here. However, again, as I mentioned, because the definition is very hard and how would you want to capture the data and whatnot. So it all affects how you measure wash trading in this industry. Next slide. So what about money laundering, right? Money laundering, I would argue, it's much easier to keep track of. What about money laundering NFT? Because it's like, hey, someone with dirty money could actually purchase an NFT to actually wipe it clean, right? And then they could see the transaction. Well, according to the charts, you can see that the charts just show that the funding that was used to purchase NFT, right? Because we can track the source of funding, you can see that even though it rose significantly between 2020 to 2021, it is still not a lot compared to the overall trading volume in the NFT industry. It was roughly about 3 to 4 million last year. But as I mentioned, the NFT industry is about 20 to 40 billion. Maybe they missed one or two, right? But we don't think, at least according to this data, I don't think that the money laundering is that much of a problem compared to wash trading. All right, next slide. So one thing I want to touch on is what about the concentration of NFT profits, right? So this data here shows you that essentially, you can just look at it later on. I have an article on this. Is that 5% of addresses accounts for 80% of the profits made on the secondary sales. Why is that the case? Right. So even though we know that group one, they make a lot of money, they make ROI multiple by a much higher extent. But if you look at the top 5%, they make a disproportionate amount more. Why is that the case? So we move on to the next slide. We can see this through, again, their sources of fund. Okay, so this pie chart here shows the sources of fund from the top quintile, right? So just now we saw that based on the sources of fund, in this case, we can also see whether the top quintile, where they get their fund from. We can also guess how technically sophisticated they are. So if you look at the green section of the pie, you will see that 15.1% only comes from conventional exchanges. If you use like Luno, Coinbase, those normal ones that we would normally buy and sell. So that indicates these are normal people. The rest of the pie, as you can see, they have many colors, but essentially they're all from decentralized exchanges, smart contracts, lending contracts, etc., mining sources, etc. So this shows that the top quintile of NFT flippers or traders, they are technically sophisticated or they are crypto native. So they're very familiar with this. Hence, they're able to actually eke out the more profitability. Either they're very familiar with the meme culture or they're very good in terms of the technical sophistication. So why do I keep talking about technical sophistication? Let's move on to probably the last slide. Next slide, which is these two images here. So these two images are some examples of technical sophistication in action, or in this case, their coding skills come to action. So one of this punk is called Punk 9998. It was bought for $500 million. Just now I mentioned Beeple was 69 million, right? So technically, this punk should be the most expensive NFT ever sold. However, the industry analysts don't consider that the case because as they look into the smart contract, they noticed that this punk was purchased using a flash loan. Means they borrowed money from the smart contract because there are a lot of decentralized finance options. They borrowed huge sums of money, purchased the NFT, and then the account that receives the funding, they use it to actually return the funds back to the place where they actually borrowed the money. So it's sort of like a wash trading. So you consider it as wash trading and it's not a legitimate sale. The next one is 83457. Now this one is a bit unfortunate. So the owner of this Bored Ape Yacht Club wanted to sell it for 75 ETH, right? That's close to $300,000. But because it was pressing too fast, and then he accidentally typed it at 0.75 ETH. So instead of saying $300,000, he sold it at $3,000. And because some of the NFT flippers out there are also able to code, they're very savvy. So they actually can create a bot that actually scans the entire marketplace and find bargain deals like this, and then make a flash purchase or very quickly purchase faster than the seller can cancel. So is this a scam? Not exactly, because they're just very smart and they know the industry. So that's how they do it. So the summary of it all is, next slide, which is my last slide, is the key takeaways here is, next slide, is that number one, not only do you need to have a lot of funding, you ideally also you need to be crypto native, and if you become rich from crypto native, that's better. So this means you understand the culture, you understand where the sources of the information, what are the tools that they use. That's why Jason mentioned about Discourse, mentioned about Twitter and whatnot. And then also you have to be willing to pay for good NFTs so that you can win compared to your competitor, and then you could flip it. More experience, more holding conviction and diversifying. But the last 2 points here, which is, of course, ideally you're technically savvy, so you can write your own trading bots. You could actually know how to borrow funding from DeFi and exploit smart contract loopholes, and also do a bit of wash trading intelligently, which I'm kidding. So please don't ever do that. That's illegal. And you guys have better qualification than I do, so you know better. Don't listen to a young punk like me. And that's it for my presentation. So if you want to get information about this whole article, this whole presentation I have, you could just scan the QR code here. It will lead you to an article that I've written that should give you a whole write-up on this thing that I presented. All right, thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Senor. I think this is a very good insight. I like the idea that you share in terms of the source of funding that shows that this marketplace itself is actually consistent of people that are sophisticated enough, right? They can write boats, they can actually just do funding and lending from the DeFi space and just do some trades, technically in that space itself. Well, glad that we have you guys here today. We have a few questions actually. I personally have a lot of questions. Maybe because of the time constraints itself, I will just keep it to myself or just to touch base with you guys later on. Now, based on the Q&A sections here, we're going to enter our Q&A sections. We have our first questions here. It's regarding of the crypto world. Is it supposed to be about decentralizations? So in your opinion, will NFT be dominated by big tech like FB, Meta, or will it benefit individuals in the long run? Any of you guys?
Well, I could answer that first, right? So to the
Sure.
conventional user, probably the decentralization aspect doesn't really matter. Like if I'm not wrong, in Argentina, because of inflation, they were actually using Binance to actually buy and sell instead of their local currency because of COVID and whatnot. So they actually use Binance and they just use Binance account and they just buy and sell from each other. So to most users, the decentralized doesn't matter. But to system architects like us, for guys like us to actually develop systems, the decentralization is very important because of the neutrality of it. Because imagine if you have a system that is not decentralized, you have a bunch of centralized people controlling the infrastructure. They could censor, right? So they say they censor the messages. If they censor the message, means they also censor your ability to buy and sell or to associate yourself with certain expressions of art, right? And NFT in this case. So you just look at Canada recently as well. They evoked the emergency ordinance whereby the truckers, their bank accounts were frozen. Involved in this. So
all right, cool. We have our second questions. Maybe this one is for Jason. What if the creator mint the same artwork in multiple network? Is there any impact?
The only impact I think is you dilute your own artwork. So that means even if you mint multiple of the same artwork or you mint them on different platforms, the only thing is if it depends how you also phrase what you are doing. So let's say you are minting it on different platforms, but you're telling them that if it's sold in OpenSea, the other side, the NFT is burned. Then I think there's no issues. But if you try to mint like the same NFT 1,000 times, or let's say 10,000 times, essentially I think what you will be doing is you will be slicing your, diluting your own NFT that way lah. So, but I think it also depends how they express it because like what Sheng say is your medium of expression. If you can somehow narrate that why you are doing this, it might also inflate the value. I'm slashing it because for certain reason, this is then possibly yes. So a lot of it also depends what are you, how are you describing minting more of these NFTs versus minting, because our traditional way of thinking is if it's a masterpiece, there must be only one. But it has been shown that you also need volume to push the worth of your NFTs up. So there might be strategic plays you mint more, but you mint them in pricing tiers. This is a higher price one, mid tier, lower tier. So that the lower tier, because lower tier is where you build your fan base, will accentuate your higher price items. So these are some of the pricing strategies that also creators will go about. The only thing, the more straightforward one is if you mint too many of your own thing, most likely you will dilute your own worth.
Well, I like the idea where you need exclusivity, right? That's the keyword that in regards for creator space when we talk about minting, right? I think that's the key thing. Or another thing is about narratives that you need to put forth, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's cool. Now we have another question, which I think is the second last one. Can NFT be used for other purposes? For example, validating contracts, title deeds, and if so, these technology can be really useful. So what's your thought? Any of you guys?
Wow, where do we begin, Jason?
It's
so true. It's so true. So in my previous work, NFT is one of the most interesting things. So one of the stats I didn't show here is recently the price of crypto dropped at the end of last year and early this year, right? But the price of NFTs didn't actually drop. In fact, some of the NFTs actually went up even at a higher price. So what this actually essentially shows us is that there's a decoupling between the NFT industry versus the crypto industry. And there are a lot of reports showing that when people go into the crypto world, right, when they first join the crypto world, they actually go through NFT first. They don't really care about cryptocurrencies. They want to buy the NFT. And a lot of people are building on top of it with a lot of functionality. You could, there are a lot of actually, there's been a lot of experiments in India as well, in South Africa, even in places like Myanmar, where they were trying to use it for land property rights, right? Of course, the legitimacy as well as the regulation has to come into place to make sure that such things are accepted and also enforced. So that's just one of the things. And if you know anything about smart contract, the technical terminology here we use is called Turing complete. So basically, it means that you could code anything, you could build anything on top of it. So this means literally, we cannot even tell you what the future has for NFT, but the immutability of NFTs make it very, very useful. One of the more interesting use cases of NFT that I've seen recently is the NFT cannot be transferred. Right? So let's just say I get an NFT, I earn an NFT for participating in an event like this. I cannot transfer it to anyone else. Why is that important? So this means that the NFTs will not be owned by the richest person. Does that make sense? Because if I can transfer it to you and you have the wealth, right? Let's just say you're currently in a traditional system, you have a lot of money, you could actually buy the NFT from me. The NFT is very, very valuable. Maybe, for example, that could be like a badge of honor for whatever it is that I've achieved in my life. So it's like sort of like a personal identifier, saying that, oh, I've achieved this and this is my merit and I have to earn it. All right. So these are also interesting use cases with regards to NFTs. So many use cases in the future. You could just go read it up. There's a lot of utility that is involved.
Yeah, maybe marriage certificates would be one of that as well.
Oh yes. yes. In fact, someone did it actually.
Even like last week, they also alluded that the Maisa Jatra cert can be an NFT, marriage certs, and like what she said, actually, there's a lot of cases where they are used for time sharing certain properties or even certain things like a car or something like that. You can be also used. You can also be used for a trophy, like what Sheng said, for either attending something or even for winning something. So you don't have to gather everybody to compete. You can do something like, if it's a leaderboard one, you can always reward the leader with the trophy NFT. So there's a lot of use cases for it. Those are industrial use cases, I guess, or more. But there is also the other side where it's an expression, like what we keep coming back to. I think the main thing is because I think COVID actually expedited all these things. We are more digital natives now, but also we are finding less ways to express ourselves because we are masked up, we're at home, we cannot go out. We can't deny it. Sometimes we're a bit of a peacock. People like to dress nice when they go out, they like to show their nice cars. They can say that no, they're minimalist, and no, but you also see our masks, also see whose baby pram is more expensive. So in some ways, we are expressive people. The artists express themselves, creators express themselves and collect, and they show who they are based on creating. But on the flip side of it, the buyers buy certain NFTs to express who they are in terms of their net worth and also what they affiliate to. So it's all different forms of expression. Because we cannot express ourselves as much as we like to physically already, we are starting to express ourselves more in a different manner. And this, I think NFT is because I cannot just and say this is me. So now I got a way to validate my expression. I bought this, says who I am and how much I'm worth, and also a host of other things that you can do.
So that could be the metaverse of the future, right?
Yep.
In a way. That's a very cool question here, where I think we should take it as a last one. In the traditional real estate, it's about locations, right? And we talk about metaverse then. Then does this also really apply to places like decentralized, also sandbox? For the benefits of understanding for the participants, sandbox and decentralized is basically some form of like metaverse kind of gameplay, I would say. So that's the question. Any of you guys can really pick up? Is it about locations?
Yes.
Well, yeah, definitely. Location.
Yeah. Well.
So even sorry, Shen, go ahead first.
Yeah, so it depends on where you buy inside, right? And then you also have, if you buy closer to a celebrity or a well-known brand, probably your price will be higher. However, before you purchase, I recommend that you create a character in those games and you go in and take a look around at different times, because again, it's like property, right? You want to actually go to the field and check, see whether there are occupants or whether there are people using it. Then maybe you decide whether it is a fluke or really it is something worth buying. Because if there's not enough occupancy, probably it's not a good idea to buy for the long term. Maybe it's just a quick flip. So you might want to take a look at that.
Yep. Even in the central land, is very even sandbox is very obvious. If you're near prominent, yes, like what Sheng said, brands, you start or certain districts. So even like for other not mid-tier game, but not less prominent games like Abergochi, they also have their realms already. So they are selling, and in terms of different districts, you're starting to see this district is like KLCC, this district is like Bangsa, and the land price, even though they are pixels, do fluctuate according to where you are in those districts. And to add on to that, they are also starting to have metaverse real estate agents already. So there are things like Douglas, I don't know whether it's Douglas Element or Ryan Serhat, the $1 Million Listing Boys. They are already trying to start up real estate agency and also brokerage in metaverses already. So that is already very interesting. They feel that because they are experts in the physical world, in this virtual world, they somehow also can corner the market. So yes, I think yes, there will be a lot of push and pull factors, even like the real estate industry that we are more accustomed to already.
Just like real life bringing into the virtual world itself. Anyway, I'm really glad to have you both of you guys here today. It's really insightful. Yeah, it's really insightful in terms of the sharings in regards of creations part and also the trading information that we can get from Sheng itself. But we are short of time, too bad. If we can have 3 hours, probably we can learn more from you guys as well. Anyhow, based on our participants, right? They love it. Okay, so we're going to have our part 3 sessions in regards of NFT. It's about demystifying the NFT landscape. All right, and it will be on Thursday, 10 March 2022, 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. 7:50 p.m. It's the same time slots like what we have currently now. So please save the date, register yourself, and we will see you again. Once again, thank you, Jason. Thank you, Sheng Yong. Appreciate you guys.
Thank you very much for having us.
Thank you for the time.
Yeah.